Hello my friends and welcome. Let's go straight to the front lines. The update there is pretty much crazy, especially for Russia. Then they start to use once again convoy mid-wave attacks. This one happened in Novopavlivka, Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. Later on I'm gonna show you the map, but you may see 1, 2, 3, 4 at least vehicles full of infantry. Pretty much a foggy weather, so Russians thought that they could make it to Novopavlivka, land the forces there and occupy that settlement. But despite complicated weather conditions, Russians met with 46 separate aeromobile Podilsky Brigade of Ukrainian army. And here is the beginning of the story. Because Russians were spotted from the very high altitude and later on Ukraine used FPV drones, they went just on time to hit all of the Russian vehicles. It was smoking, but after all, those are the hangar vehicles, so Russians proceeded under the drone strike. Sometimes you need 5 drones to stop those vehicles. Yeah, it happens. Nevertheless, the first vehicle stopped and the rest didn't try even to bypass it. Very strange. So Russians decided to leave their vehicles and proceed with infantry forces only. It was a very big mistake, and later on I'm gonna show you why. Well, because the target was stationary, Ukraine started to operate even with artillery. Precise hits went there. I guess also mortars were used. And of course some FPV drones, but one of the vehicles decided after all to proceed to some of the building. They landed the infantry over there, but even here Russians went under fire and they were not able to get into the building. They mostly stayed near their demolished vehicle. Yeah, sorry guys, to avoid any sort of the restrictions, I had to show just standstill images if there is something happening like that, but I have an alternate for you, by the way. Well, the first alternate is usually my Telegram channel where I sometimes post those videos, but if you want to check out my reviews of those failed Russian attack attempts without any sort of the stopping and everything of that, I came out with solution to stream those kind of the videos on Kick platform. I don't like Kick, honestly, but it has kind of the low censorship. I also have Rumbler account, but I don't like Rumbler even more, and Rumbler is restricted in many of the countries. But here, for example, I streamed this video today, similar stuff, but here I do not pause, I just look at the pictures as they are, and you may check out my Kick channel for that. I'll put it in a video description right below. I also reviewed some of the combat images, so the stream is out there after it's finished, at least for some period of time. I think up to 1 week it is out there. Yeah, gonna make those streams regular, at least I have the plan for it. Yeah, the name of the channel is Captain D1, already 126 followers, and the first stream already got 2,200 views. That's outstanding. Even on my alternate YouTube channel, I have less views sometimes on my streams. So check out all of my social media guys below, and this will be one more for unfiltered content. And now let's go to that attack that I want to show you. So this is a very fresh attack that happened 1 day ago, and you see Russians also used MTLB vehicles full of drone protection, but it didn't help, as in this case. By the way, later on in the video, in the stream, I showed how Russian soldier, he tried to get into the vehicle, like he was wounded, he tried to hide from the drones, but it was not a good choice because Ukrainian drone operators, they spotted that he was hiding there and they finished the job. Well, Russians also used the tanks in this convoy. This is T-72, I think, judging on the caterpillars, yeah, and the long barrel. I guess it's one of the newest tanks of Russia, maybe even B-3 modification, yeah. So part of the Russian forces were captured near their vehicles, but 10 of them survived and they started to run. At first I thought, okay, maybe they're just running away back to their positions. But actually I was shocked to check out that they went on assault, like continued the assault even after all of those losses. This is crazy. How did I came to this conclusion that they were going for attack even more? Yeah, all of those. Yeah, this is Russian soldier. This is Russian soldier. 2 of those, 3, like many of those. You can see the heading here, 323, right? 323. And let's check out the map. Let's go to Novopavlivka. This is where the Russian attack miserably failed. By the way, the link for social media of Mayakovsk, who is constructing this map, updating it almost every day, you may find in the video description right below. And from his Twitter page, you may check out the link for this map. So this is the place where Russia lost absolutely everything. This is the building you saw before, and this vehicle that was burning, and this is the convoy, yeah? This is MTLB that I say to you before. So the north is up here, as in most of the maps. Usually it's like that, right? Especially here, 100% it is correct. So the drone was filming Russian infantry running with a heading of 323 degrees. This is somewhere here. The camera was filming the infantry in this direction. It means that Russians proceeded to Novopavlivka. They didn't turn back. Probably they were running away from their demolished vehicles somewhere here or maybe further away. But overall, they found the most terrible place to hide. Just this single demolished building, just some of the walls, and I guess one wall is already absent. Most of the infantry went there. 10 people, maybe 8, and you understand what happened to that building. Ukraine used airstrikes, drone drops, and everything to kaput the building. It is absolutely no go for those infantry guys. And those couple of the Russian soldiers who survived everything of that, after all, they were flatlined. Yes, they went to another tree line on the way. They tried actually to go back. At that point, it was on the wow, something is wrong. We are being hit. After all, they understood. They were running back, but it was too late. They were chased, and yeah, you already know this story. One of the Russian tanks of this convoy just went off the road. It hit some sort of the ammunition storage, and it was a very precise drop from the drone. I'm gonna show you. This is the drop, and it went straight to the hatch of the driver mechanic of the tank. He has the separate hatch in T-72, right between those rods, straight to this hole, and you understand what happened next to the tank. It was one of the most precise shots I have ever seen in this war. One of those, yeah, very, very precise. From this distance, it's incredible. I guess our guys were also surprised and happy about this result. And yeah, we have some additional footage of the same attack. So part of the vehicles, they stopped, and one proceeded near to this building, where it was finally ended by Ukrainian strikes. Yep. And what is this? It seems like this is the tractor, and those are combiners. We call those for collecting wheat, for processing the soil. It's just a reminder of what was there before Russia started its full-scale aggression against Ukraine. Yeah, you see how they track how drone flies very precisely, tracking every sort of the vehicle. And the Russians, it was their mistake. They thought that, oh, bad weather, we may go try to move. Everyone cancelled. Wow. I'm telling this channel again and again that Russians are doing the same mistakes again and again. Before they already went to Novopavlivka, it was a huge trap for them. They lost lots of the vehicles, lots of the infantry, and they've decided to make the same mistake. Well, before they were even more successful, I would say. They stayed for one day in Novopavlivka mostly, but later on were ambushed. It was worse weather than in this attack attempt, and they were spotted quite late in the settlement, already inside it. But now it's no go, absolutely. And now let's go to Pokrovsk-Dobropilya direction, where Russia tried to attack Ukrainian positions with the similar tactics, but instead of BMPs, MTLBs and tanks, they used all-terrain vehicles. Their attack failed absolutely miserably on the way to Novoshakhova. It was a very aggressive attack attempt, and somehow Russians stopped in the middle of it, creating a very good chance for Ukraine to use even HIMARS systems. I'm going to show you the video, and I'm going to tell that also Ukraine has losses. Yes, it's a war, and here unfortunately, yeah, a couple of the vehicles, I'm going to show you that later on also in this video. But here Russians lost because they were so stupid to stop at one place. Let me show you the video. Imi, the analytic who has such a funny avatar, he publishes usually lots of the videos coming from the front lines. He called the video, "What the F are they doing?" Well, I have the same question over here. They just stopped and they started to walk around, and they found out. Yeah, the question is what or why? What caused them to stop? Maybe they lost, or what happened? Because this is Ukrainian controlled territory. Ukraine liberated this part. It is under 24/7 surveillance. Azov Corps operates here, as you might see this emblem. The road, everything is okay. Drone is flying, and one more drone flying. And just occasionally they found this Russian convoy. So they were moving and then they stopped. Okay, let's stop. Something is happening. Maybe they had, this warning, like the drones ahead, because they monitor the frequency. There are special instruments for that. And they decided to check out what is waiting for them in the front. But it was the big mistake, because they were already spotted, their positions were uncovered, and they were just, searching for the drones out there. Well, actually, they shut down one of the drones. It didn't make it to the place. So before, after, you see, probably that is what they were holding for, like, hooray, we shut down one drone, but Ukraine doesn't operate with a single drone only. No, there are many. And you understand what started to happen in the next several seconds. Yes, their convoy was absolutely demolished on the way. Stationary convoy is an easy target for artillery, for rocket artillery, for mortars, and at some point even HIMARS engaged. So nothing is left absolutely from this failed attempt of the Russian army. Yeah. I think it was even a little overkill, maybe to show Russians what is awaiting for them in those convoy attacks. But they do not learn, and actually no one will explain other Russians what happened there. They might just check out those videos and look at this video, because, no one will tell. I mean, personally, it's not possible. So every day I see many of those attacks happening in Pokrov's direction, Dobropila. What was the reason to use this convoy over there? I don't know. It's very, very strange. Russians didn't take Shakhova under control, but they advanced to Novoshakhova for whatever reason. Maybe they wanted to force Ukraine to split the forces or what. Let's go to Ukrainian losses, those two vehicles I showed you. Yeah, this is BTR Striker. Striker was hit. I wonder if there was infantry inside. We have it just on the channel, War in Ukraine, losses of the vehicles. But when it happened, the video was published today, but we have no date, we have nothing. Maybe it happened before, because I don't see the snow as in previous, like most recent videos, at least partially there was the snow. And another vehicle, let's open it up, the same channel, by the way. This is Humvee, Humvee vehicle. The good sign that it is open. Maybe it just went off the road because it tilted up. Crew evacuated together with infantry forces, and drones just finished it off. Yeah, it was on fire. You see, drone protection here. The cage, it's so massive. Wow. Yeah, Ukraine has losses, but I don't think that it was the convoy attack as Russians do, with lots of the infantry forces, lots of the vehicles, lots of the all-terrain vehicles. What they do is crazy. They just demolish their own army. The Ukrainian losses are not happening in those crazy meat attacks. Mostly Russia cuts Ukrainian supplies. As it happened at this crossroad between Rodensk and Rivne, here Ukraine lost lots of the vehicles, a lot. But they've accumulated there for the last 2 months. Oh, there is one more failed Russian attack in Krasnoyarsk. Let me show you. This is the area, Krasnoyarsk, it's Zaporizhia, I guess, Oblast. Yeah, it's Zaporizhia, right at the border between Dnipropetrovskaya Oblast and Zaporizhia. And here's what happened there. Unfortunately, guys, I cannot show you this image closer, but there's the river, and Russians stopped over here, were stopped. In this case, they used the Niva vehicle and 2 UAZ, one Loaf and one Jeep-looking UAZ over here. Yeah, I would say that Russia doesn't have this solid one tactics, how they operate on the front line. Sometimes they use the smart infiltration attacks without those convoys. They also go to the settlements, as it was in Kupiansk, through the pipelines. That kind of the tactics definitely brings them some sort of the profit, but straight mid-wave attacks, I think they're desperate because Russia officially proclaimed that they've took Kupiansk, Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, everything of that already been encircled. And Russians are saying that Hulaya Pole is taken. Hulaya Pole is over here, No, it's not, but you see how many bombs they're using there. So to push it up, to really show on the ground that Russia takes the control and everything, Russians are forced to act abruptly, using all of the available forces, vehicles, in attempt to get something. Yeah, but in most of the cases they just fail, as we see. Well, here in Ghulaypole, they went not with the convoys, but with small infiltration attacks, and here Ukrainian defense is way weaker because it wasn't organized correctly. And just look at the number of those strikes, crazy. So Ukraine cannot keep positions. Everything has been ruined all around. So our guys had to retreat from here, sadly. As well as I see some of the flaws in Ukrainian defense, for example, not far away from Siversk, we have probably here the update from the deep state, yeah. So Serebranka is fully under Russian control, it's been confirmed together with all of this Russian movement. It hasn't happened for a single day, we have just this clarification update, so Russia attacked here for the last maybe week, they advanced little by little, and now they crossed into the higher ground in Svyatopokrovsk. That's important, actually, settlement. So their goal is to reach Slavyansk, and maybe even the next year we're gonna see how Russians are getting close to Slavyansk city, and maybe there could be even some of the battles. We'll see. But Russia is propelling in general. They're taking the ground very, very slowly. Even in the most hot spots where they use the most of the forces, number of the forces, for example, Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, the situation is still the same. Maybe for the last months, and Ukraine is still capable, like for example in Kupiansk, yeah, the Kupiansk update is great, we were all happy and still happy about it, and there are more and more videos, clarifications, confirmations of what is happening, that our guys are on the ground in Kupiansk city itself, in the northern area of Kupiansk, drones are working very well. Yes, even Russians confirmed the presence of the Ukrainian army in Kupiansk. Russians unfortunately caused some of the losses for Ukraine. They showed this video with the waiter or holder drone in Kupiansk. And many more. Yes, unfortunately this operation brings losses also for Ukraine. Any sort of the attack operation brings more losses. Well, Russians, they do have their own charts, but they confirmed the presence of the Ukrainian army straight in the central area of Kupiansk. Yep. Russian S-400 or S-300 systems from this distance. It seems like S-400. Yeah, this convoy was going somewhere, was filmed from this UAZ vehicle. We have the report that it was the convoy of S-400 systems, and it was hit, yeah, 3 days ago, or maybe, yeah, 3 days ago, 4:30 p.m. There was an attack on the convoy S-400, lots of the losses. One launcher was hit, like completely flatlined and damaged, another one. Plus Russia lost some of the missiles. I hope that we'll have some of the visual confirmation, but still not yet posted, but that's probably the convoy that was filmed before. Maybe someone shared this information online and Ukraine discovered that, oh, there is the convoy in Belgorod Oblast somewhere. We should use HIMARS. The village of Rayevka, Belgorod Oblast, confirmed. And Dossier Шпиона, this channel usually shares more or less reliable information, but I'm still waiting for final confirmation. Some of the videos coming from the place. Classical Russians are going to war. What is it? It's not Russian, yeah? Yeah, he says something, maybe he's Buryat or so on, I don't know. There are lots of the nations who are imprisoned by Russia, who are taken as the slaves. That's the idea of Russia to take Ukraine, to slave it to Russia and to use Ukrainians for next wars. They erase the identity of those people. Yeah, they still speak some of the local language, but they, with just speaking local language, they cannot achieve some certain level in Russian society. They're forced to study Russian, and if they do not study it, if they do not say that they are Russians, they are poor. The social lifts are not working for them in this case, and if they are poor, they just go and die for the Russian army. As simple as that. Russia. What are they doing? Whom they liberate thousands kilometers away from their Buryatia or Bashkortostan or whatsoever, where they are coming from? Altai, Chuvashia. What do they have to do with Ukraine? Absolutely nothing. So Russia is like this Mongolian empire. They conquer nations and they use the nations for further conquering. Yeah, Mongolian empire used the same tactics, absolutely. Why are they coming? Probably they themselves cannot say. Well, the main motivation is money, of course. Yeah, this guy is the classical Russian. By the way, he is flatlined in Ukraine. And that's how they've been delivered. Airplane, this is Illusion, probably Illusion 76 or maybe even Antonov 1-4 airplane flying somewhere. Yeah, it's Antonov 1-4 Ruslan, a big one. As commentators say, those are from Tiva to Vinci. Yeah, not the European Russians, you may say. Shoigu is also from Tiva, by the way. Yeah, that's the delivery of the Russian army to the front lines. Crazy. One on top of each other. Those are the conditions for them to go and fight. Yeah, here are our brothers, he said, ready to go. They didn't even use any sort of the paint here. I think it doesn't play the great role. Usually they are not being used more than one time. I mean, those bikes together with the riders. Okay, Russians are in Pokrovsk. They went there with their horses. Interesting. Maybe also the guys from Tiva, they like those horses. Well, it happens just occasionally in the Russian army, yeah, but it happens. They're not fighting, like I haven't seen the drone videos, how the horses are jogging to reach Ukrainian positions, so it's not happening, but for supplies, they might use those. Some drone wars. Russia started to use Baba Yaga-like drones, also heavy ones. Not massively, but they use. And this drone was hit by Ukrainian Mavic. It went down, yeah, it was chased later on. Mavic costs way less compared to this very capable drone, actually, that carries usually mortar mines or cassette shells. I think soon they're gonna carry even artillery shells. It was a chase! Oh my god. See how hot propellers are. I think it was hit later on. It should be hit, right? I haven't watched this video, guys. Yeah, I think, yeah, they're all falling down together. It was successful. Taran. That's one more. The Ukrainian FPV drone shuts down the Russian Baba Yaga style heavy drone. Just look at this. Kaboom! And the drone is gone. Just awesome. The drones against the drones. Wow, that's the new era of the wars. Crazy. Andrew Perpetua, who analyzes the losses and all of those drone images coming, he's an awesome and precise analytic. One of the reasons why I have my Twitter account still. So he mentions here that the statistics for the Russian losses during the last week show the increasing trend. And I guess I already know why. I already told you, because of Zelensky's selfie in Kupiansk. Yes, Russia is now, Russian commanders understand that they need to push their infantry for those mid-wave attacks. Indeed, it is happening like that. So here we have the stats. And from what I see, definitely it's way more than usual. 200 multiple of the times. Before it wasn't like that. Keep in mind, we do not count wounded people. We do not count people we cannot see. For example, if a tank driving down the street explodes, that counts as 0 KA. Whew. And that's per day, my friends. Per day. 213 per day. KA, flatlined. Jesus Christ. We only count those captured on video or photograph, so real evidence. This is the real evidence, guys. Real numbers. And they are crazy. Absolutely astonishing. Alright, guys, here I have to clarify the information about the submarine that was allegedly significantly damaged, and we saw that kaboom happen yesterday. Yes. So some of the Russian... Okay, so probably the drone hit not just the submarine, but also it breached the gap in... You see where. Maybe this guy did it for purpose, to whistle on the Russian soldiers. Attack! Well, here they show the submarine. They say that everything is fine, our submarine is okay, everything is good. But they do not show the empennage. Yeah, the aft side, it's very important, especially underwater, because what we see is just a smaller portion. Plus, the submarine is being chained. You see? They chose not to move it out as the rest of the submarines. They were replaced from this bay to different positions. Now Russia tries to hide it. Probably this submarine is not in service if they put this thing for it not to drown. Yeah, that's the maximum where the camera goes here. No, enemy did everything wrong. They didn't hit the submarine, yeah? And let's watch the video once again. So this is the submarine, yeah? This how it goes and goes down over here. And the kaboom happened right at the aft part. So no one is actually telling, yeah, you see where it happened, at the very aft part. So the submarine is okay here, but the part of the port infrastructure is damaged, and also the strike was strong, and maybe the aft rotor is also damaged. Maybe there was the breach of the submarine construction itself, but it's not that important compared to Ukrainian capabilities to reach Russian Navy fleet base with lots of those ships without being spotted. Just for you to understand how Kilo submarine class looks like, so what we see is just a small part, yeah, that was just partially shown, but underwater there could be a substantial damage to this moving rotor element, which is in this cone nacelle. I guess after all the aft part was damaged, so this is where it ends and then it goes underwater. I think that it was damaged, yeah. I think like that, but Russians will not show us the evidence. Absolutely, we only may spectate what happens to that boat, whether it runs, goes somewhere, or stays at the same place, and what Russians could do with it later on. And we already have the satellite images, so this is the submarine, and it was before, and this is after. The damage is mostly down to the port infrastructure, to the submarine, I guess, itself. Russians just do not show it. If you say that it's okay, well, put it to the sea then. Show how it is running, floating, or going underwater. Yeah, here we have more or less high-quality satellite picture. You may see, yeah, huge damage to the spears. Like someone beat the part out, yeah. If all of that energy went to the submarine itself, it would be no-go, but yeah, sadly, could be just the aft part damaged. That's the clarification we have today about this one, guys. And I always correct my information if something is not what I said in previous videos, for example. So here the confirmation definitely that the submarine is in one piece, but could be damaged still, yeah. And the fact that Ukraine is using those submarine drones is just awesome. Yeah, less precise than we expected, but yeah, Russians will suffer more of those attacks, I'm sure about it. Novorossiysk port will not save them. Yeah, this video appears to be about frontline updates, the situation on the ground, but we have many more news coming, so stand by for one more video. I'm gonna upload it hopefully in a few hours. I need to sleep, wake up, and film one more. I will not make it 30 minutes long, I hope, a little bit shorter, so stand by for it. And by the way, my friends, thank you so much for your kind support on Patreon. The link for it is just in the video description right below, or you may press join button to join membership. Yeah, yesterday I uploaded some of the video, especially for members and Patreons, but yeah, I try to upload more of the unique content for my supporters, because you make my job possible and this content possible as well. So guys, you are just awesome. If you do not have this opportunity to support me on Patreon or membership, no worries, just press your like to this video and also subscribe for the channel to propel the video in YouTube algorithms. Thank you so much for it as well. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.